Miami, 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 Miami. It feel like Miami.
Welcome to the Heat Beat Postgame Show. I'm your host, Giancarlo Navas, and with me today, we have reality check master, Tiffany Meeks.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, they can shoot. We'll talk about stuff. Welcome in, Siobhan.
They were doing things, Bond.
They did basketball things, Siobhan.
They did the things. Vic did some things. They did
Vic
things.
did things.
Hi, people. I've been away for a while. What's up? Hey,
She
guys.
back like Dipo and Duncan. Shout out to chat. Shout out to AKW Beats. Resubscribe with Prime. Love you. That keeps the lights on around here as I file company taxes. So shout out to all of y'all. You make this venture possible for all of us to do this together in the ways that we do. So I love y'all, guys.
Yes.
Heat win.
Yo.
Whether. We don't have to talk about the macro today. We know how we feel about the macro. Let's just talk about it tonight, man, because I don't know. Sometimes you need a win. Sometimes you just need to feel good in March. Sometimes on a Monday in March, some places, Tiff, Bond, it could be very cold in some places. And sometimes you just need something to warm your heart. Like
it was snowing here in Chicago yesterday. It was thunderstorming today. I don't know what the hell is up, but sometimes, you just want to feel good.
And it was raining threes in Miami, something that you can't say very often. What a professional segue. Tiffany Meeks.
Yes.
The shooting. What happened?
It went in.
That's what she said.
Oh.
Oink.
That's what anybody said. We're not.
That's what they said.
That's what they said. It's gender inclusive.
That's what they said.
That's what they said. Sorry, revolution.
Listen, it went in. What else can we ask for at this point? Like that's it. Put the ball in the basket. That is the story of the game, right? You put the ball in the basket. I think I don't know how many fast break points they had or even fast break attempts. They just looked faster tonight. They didn't look speed racer-ish, but they just looked faster.
Well, Dipo had zip and
right,
and
but I'm not talking about Dipo. But
Caleb
I'm just
was
meaning,
zippy.
kind of in general.
They were fed off that.
Yeah, they were getting up and down. I think we forget about when you're not stagnant and everybody's moving and the ball actually pops, shots go in.
Yeah, like energy. Like it's contagious. The ball finds energy, bodies find energy. When people just feel the leather of the ball touch their hands, they feel involved. They feel, a part of what's happening. And so you want to run, you want to get out, you want to play, you want to play fast, you want to play lively. And it looks good, or it feels good to watch.
Right. So tonight, guys, I never have questions about their heart. I know that they'll compete. Whether it takes a little bit of time to get there, I know they're gonna. I don't think they're like a group that'll roll over and die. I just need them to do this for 48. You guys are not. You're not the Celtics. You're not the Warriors. Let's just say it. You're not the fucking Knicks. You don't. Let's be real here. You gotta.
Right.
They gotta
turn tables.
Yeah, and we talked about this on pregame show, Bon. How they need to try hard because they used to call the Celtic fans and the Sixer fans called us try hard Heat. They were trying so hard in the regular season. But that was their identity. And I think they go away from that at times and they're just not talented enough. But tonight they had it. Vic was flying. I know the defense early wasn't good, but I think that Bond corrected that. They were active. They were moving. They made some mental mistakes, but I don't think it was they're not trying. They brought the effort and the energy tonight.
Yeah, this group always has to be a group of tryhards, and
Yeah.
it depends on how, what frame of mind you want to look at that in, right? Like, I've been saying it, they are not uber talented, and that's not such a bad thing to say. It just kind of is who
It's
it is what it
factual.
is.
Right.
It's a factual thing. It's been a factual thing. And I don't know why people take it to heart so bad. It's why they have to be the strongest, the hardest working, the
Mm-hmm.
toughest, the grittiest, all that stuff. But and when they do it, you get good results, but it's tough, right? It's difficult.
Right.
They're not athletic, they're not uber talented, they're not big, and so they have to live and die by their efforts. And sometimes the mental mistakes, like you said, sometimes those things can kind of fuck them over a bit because their margin for error is slim. And so mental lapses on top of lack of effort is where you see them, kind of get into a lot of trouble. But they cannot afford to have both of those off on the same night. And I think you're right. The defense was shaky to begin. They did kind of correct it. We talked a little bit in the group chat about they're trapping out high, and they had gone away from it, or at least it felt like a bit for me at some points in the season, and it's kind of back. And with that, people aren't really tagging the roll guy. We're having to pinch in off of our weak side. So we got one person over here guarding shooter. Caleb is that person guarding shooter. He has to pinch in to take the roll, fly back out. We over rotate. When we get
Right.
undisciplined, right?
Yep.
When we get undisciplined in how hard we have to play, that's when they lapse, and that's when teams kind of take advantage of us. But when they don't, and all of the pieces do the things, right? When Vic stops doing these weird snatchbacks and these pullbacks,
Mm-hmm.
go straight ahead. Like,
Yep.
maybe I said this a little bit before too, like maybe he's not still beating people off of that very first step, but Vic's second and third step are still quicker than a lot of people. So if he would just take that first one and then take 2 and 3 and keep going vertically, we'd get a lot of good stuff. And so I hope
Mm-hmm.
he continues to do that. The defense does have to continue to stay connected. They got to gain rebound. But yeah, this is who they are, but this is who they've been, and so fans can't take it as a slight. You have
Right.
to lean into it and expect them to lean into it too. And Jimmy says it too. Like, we come out here a lot, like we're just hot shit. Like, we're better than people. Like, we can just pull up and get wins, and that's not how that. Josh Finkelstein, Duncan better than Prime Ray Allen. That's a lot of dip on your chip. But happy to see him back too. But yeah, they corrected stuff, and they have to stay. Everyone that did what they did today, they have to stay there going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Josh Finkelstein, by the way. Gifted a tier 1 sub. Again, love and respect and appreciate
Still a lot of dip on the chip.
all the love and the dip on the chip. Tiff, before we go to the
Yes.
shooting, do you want anything to add on kind of their roller coaster on defense today?
No, I mean, I'm not surprised. I think
Yeah.
it's the hardest thing is to beat the same team back to back, right? So Atlanta came out, they were
A team
ready.
that you beat in the playoffs.
Exactly.
That, like, has yeah.
Well, I mean, but they beat in the playoffs. Like, they're not fundamentally the same Heat team.
No,
So
but
like
I mean on Atlanta's side, like they, there's a little extra edge for them.
right. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. But I think that when this happens, when you beat the team and then you got to come right back, they're going to throw that first punch, and they did. So the idea is that can you just hang around enough to course correct? And that's what the Heat did. And then also, I just kind of want to piggyback on when you're talking about Vic just getting that straight line, getting downhill, doing all those things. Like, what we also have to remember about Vic is a volume scorer. Like, he needs to put up shots to be effective. Tonight, I love that he got the drive going. And then with the drive, it seemed like it made him more comfortable in shooting the three, because he looked a lot more comfortable tonight than he's been looking the last couple of weeks. But he got all the opportunities he needed in the open court.
32 minutes, 12 shots. I feel like, has he shot? I feel like 12 is a lot of shots for him.
It is, but that's what he needs. But the thing is,
Yes,
to get into that open space in the court, you know what else we need? We need other players running out wide. We don't need them. And those are things that they have been doing over the last couple of weeks. Everything is so congested. He's trying to get into the paint, and then you've got people who are crossing him, who are trying to post. Like, there's just too many different actions happening at one time. And tonight, everybody did their job. They filled the lanes. They stayed wide, and they allowed him to be like that one-man wrecking crew that we thought he was going to be.
And I think the shooting, and this is a good transition to get into this, I think the shooting has a lot to do with that tonight because, you know, he's also one of the not great shooters, and he had it going tonight, which opened up his game. And Duncan had it going, and Tyler hit a couple late that were big, and Caleb and Matt, and just general that I thought that offense was flowing in a way that he was able to kind of utilize the space that they created. I think, Bon, what you and Tiff touched on earlier about the ball like not sticking, I want to give Cody Zeller a lot of credit too because he's a very apt passer. He doesn't overhold the ball. He's just a very smart player, and you know, got hit Caleb for a couple times as a cutter and stuff like that. But guys, the 3-point shooting tonight, they shot over 55% from three. Duncan looked really good. They got threes off many different actions. It wasn't like it used to be where it was like, okay, DHO or bust. It was driving kick. It was handoffs. It was pull-ups. Bon, it was everything. They got shooting everywhere. And I don't know if they're not going to shoot 55% again, but damn, man, it feels good to like, oh yeah, that's what an NBA offense should do when you have these kinds of players who are like supposed like shooters or specialists.
We scored 130 points today, and that felt nice to see.
Yo,
that's crazy. That's nuts. Do that to us,
man. But yes, and I tweeted this earlier, and you know, like shout out to Duncan, and I'm happy for him. You said in the chat like you're happy for him, and I'm genuinely happy for him too. Like
he needed it.
I truly believe that there has always kind of been some space for him. You know, at least within the floor of the offense. His defense in the foul trouble, those are the things I think keep him off the floor. But even with that, I still believe that there have been space to play him. And my issue with the offense last season was never the fact that the DHOs were a part of the offense. It was the fact that, like you said, it was DHO or bust. It was DHO or a goddamn die because we were not doing anything else to facilitate movement, to no decoy, no sharing of offense, no like opening up space on the floor. It was just this handoff is this big in the drop. Can you get this off? No. Can you get this little bounce pocket pass to the road? No. Well, then fuck. Like that's all my pockets are empty. That's kind of all I have.
Let's do it again.
That's all I have. Right. And so, to see that they are to knock down the catch and shoot stuff, the driving kicks, the stuff that have been open. You know, these are the type of looks that they've been getting. I've said this too. Like, I do not expect them to have continued to have shot as poorly as they have been. And again, you know, like you say, I don't know if they continue to shoot 55%, but there's a middle ground somewhere. Right. And even just reaching that opens up their offense a bit more than what it has looked. And so, yeah, if we've shot like shit all season, if this is when the shots decide to start to fall as we're heading in, then so be it. I'll take it and let's continue to you know, to kind of ride this. I hope everyone feels good about themselves. Gabe gave them 8, but he gave them 2 for 5 from 3 early on. I think that that was good for him. Just everyone kind of did the things like we were joking about earlier. And they aren't unsustainable things. Like they've been getting great looks all season and they just have not gone in. And so hopefully that tide is turned for good.
I'm glad that you said that, Bond, because it's like dudes that are supposed to hit shots, like Max and Duncan and Gabe, like dudes that I think that, you know, we got to a point last season that you trusted them to do that. And I think, you know, I think Gabe and Max have kind of proved, you know, # more than a shooter. Tiff, I thought tonight was good for Duncan in that sense because man finished an oop, had the little pump fake and go.
Threw a oop. Well,
like passing, just complete offensive game.
The thing with this team is that, like, you got to stay ready because, you know, not for nothing, they're never all healthy at once. No. So you're always going to get your opportunity, even though it looks like you're just like buried all the way at the end of the bench, you're going to get your opportunity. And with Love out and them starting Max, and then you bump Duncan up in the rotation, that was his opportunity, and he stayed ready, so he didn't have to get ready. But like you said, you love the other little things, the oop, the passes, because the reality is we've also seen defenses get into these guys where they can't get the shots off. So what else can you do? And like we said, if the shots keep falling, and you enter the playoffs, with some bow of confidence, especially the shooters.
You have a gun. It may not be fully loaded, but you got a couple rounds in there.
Listen,
you don't like that analogy?
No.
I mean,
it's like it's not like you trust them to do anything, but like, damn, can you at least scare somebody a little bit? Like, fuck.
He said, so we
showed up with a water pistol.
Pretty much. I mean, that's what they do all season. And then teams just started laughing. It's like, what is, it's the Stephen A. thing. What do you think? You know what I mean? Like, what? I sometimes do this, but like, it's a competitive fighting game I play, and sometimes like when you play a character matchup, sometimes it's knowing this character is not threatening me in these positions. And once you learn that in a matchup, you're like, oh, well, you're sitting on the platform. There's nothing bad's going to happen to me if I'm on this platform because you don't have the tools to deal with it. And I think a lot of opponents kind of look at the Heat that way. It's like, oh, wow, you're going to pull up from three? I don't give a shit. Like, what do I care? You know what I mean? Like, nothing bad's going to happen to me if you do these things. I just need to make sure that you don't do, like, we know the Heat's win condition, right? They want to get a lot of free throws, and they want to force a ton of turnovers. Atlanta had 11 turnovers tonight. Atlanta took care of the ball. When Philadelphia came in here, they took care of the ball. Like, teams that take care of the ball, like Miami has a difficult time kind of stopping them because of the way that their defense is designed now. Right. And I was very happy that they found a way to win when their win conditions were not met. They won in a different way tonight. And I just think that, listen, my opinion does not change on this team because of this game, but it was a very encouraging sign and hopefully a building block. Now, I'm not going to get tricked, and I think all of us are in the same boat. We're not going to get tricked into being like, this is the one. I like this. This is nice. This is great. I need to see an extended stretch of this that I will start to believe in any of this. Because they've had moments where they like shoot well or whatever, but obviously this takes a lot to fix, Siobhan.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Like, this was cute. This was cool. These are the things we need to listen. You only get this type of analysis here, but these are the things that we need to see. But these are the things that we need for whatever their playoff hopes are. Continued success, like you said, or continuing to do the things like this. G, I wanted to ask you something. How'd you feel about Bam tonight?
So we talked on pregame like defense. So I want to start defensively. Okay. We were wondering how much they were going to switch because like Capella killed them offensive rebounding last game. And I felt a lot of the same things. And some of that was in zone. Some of that was switching. I thought there were times that you could tell that they had to play more offensive minded units. And I could tell that Bam was out of position a couple of times. There was a Trae Young drive where he kind of froze Bam with a little ball fake where he got to the rim and Eric Reed's like, might as well have set up the red carpet. It was like in the fourth quarter. And I'm like, oh, Bam Bam froze. He did not step up because I think that he had too much to like look around other than Dipo and Jimmy. I think that that was kind of a lineup where it was a little tough for him. I thought he had a moment, Bon, where he had a dribble. This is going to sound funny, but he had a dribble handoff with Duncan and he got the ball at the elbow. And Duncan ran back as he normally does to kind of take his man out of the play. And Bam didn't go to do another handoff. He took, because they switched that, and he took Bogdanovich, and he put his ass under the basket. And I'm like, that is character development. That's what we've been waiting for. And to me, I'm like, I don't know. It was like, it felt like watching like somebody take a step for the first time. I'm like, wow, that's like literally the element to his game that we have begged him to do. And it was just like, it was, I know that we've like already like gone past that because he's already a different offensive player, but it was just like in that moment, that was the thing that specifically would drive us up a wall, and he just did the right thing, and I was just happy for him. You know what I mean? So that's like kind of how I felt about him today. I'm like, we took steps, and I'm happy.
Yeah. I'll take it.
How did you feel about him?
Tiff, do you have anything on Bam first? I don't want
to. I think I said he didn't look bad. He looks pedestrian.
Damn.
And I think.
Well.
I just actually think that the workload has caught up to him.
I think so, a bit.
So he's not, like the other night he got off, but he's not having these spark plug games that he was having early on in the season. I think that him having to carry the scoring load, but also the defensive end I think it's just like catching up with him.
Some of the defensives, go ahead.
Do you guys think that like part of it is his jumper fell down to earth a little bit? So he's shooting, he's still 46% from mid range on the season, which is very good. It's in the 75 percentile, which is good. It's good, but it was higher before, and I think some of the offensive production is that number has kind of tailed off recently, and I think he was getting a lot of mileage off. They're not playing this well enough, and I'm going to rise up and get this. And that's gone away a little bit, and I think that's kind of like, I think he has to readjust when that's not like totally falling all the time. I don't know if you guys agree.
I mean, part of the rise up is having the lift.
For sure.
I don't think that the lift isn't the same as it was early on in the season.
His finishing's gone down too. He's at 65%. It's not good.
But
what's gone down?
The finishing
at the rim. It's at 65. Yeah. He was at 70 last year.
Yeah, I think that, but this is also like, it's interesting because so we know he has that mid range, like it's there. I just think that I think he's worn down. Like I said, he's looking off. But if you look forward into next season, that's part of the maturation process. So it's kind of like, I have the mid range in my pocket. Now what am I adding? So like to me, I look at it like, yeah, you're dipping and all these things, but I'm already looking forward to next season to see, okay, what's the next tool you need to add to make you a more dominant offensive player?
I think for me, I feel like the same way that you feel about him offensively, Tiff, and even with the shooting numbers maybe having fallen down a little bit, G, like you said, it's still a weapon. It's still something that he shouldn't really hesitate to go to, at least early on in games. If it's there, they're sagging off. If your lane is crowded, you have that space. You have to take it. Otherwise, the lane is just going to stay crowded, and we're back in whatever that playoff matchup was when Brook was giving him, 18 feet of room around his feet. I think some of the things that's a bit concerning for me with Bam has been some of the stuff defensively. And in the switching, Nikias and I were talking in a different chat earlier. Some of his containment, he's not containing as well. And it hasn't just been this game. It isn't just the Trae. It wasn't just the Trae Young drive. I think DeAndre beat him a couple times. Like, guys have been finding more success taking Bam off of the dribble than they were in some seasons prior. And that worries me because if we're not keeping him home.
Capella tonight? Like,
who? Capella what?
Do you mean like Bam's getting taken off the dribble?
I mean by the guards. Like in some of the switching, in his in his perimeter kind of containment. He's not containing as much as he kind of was at one point. And that worries me because if we're not, we don't play him in a drop. So he's not really home a lot. And he's being weaponized as, keep these guys kind of out front in front of you. And so when that starts to slip, and now that's also forcing rotation, that's also forcing, kind of baseline helping and all of these other things. Some of that is starting to worry me. Of course, I expect that to tighten up in the playoffs with, more time kind of between games to rest or whatever. I think for me personally, that is an area where I've kind of kept my eye on a little bit, and it's not even really an effort things. It's discipline, it's details. He's jumping out, he's giving a high foot, he's giving driving lanes, he's not squaring guys up, stuff like that. Easily correctable, but stuff that I'm like, oh, let's tighten that back up a bit.
Yeah, I think he's playing a little high too. I thought tonight, and I think Trae does that to you. I think that you want to play him high because you really. I think, so Atlanta, and this, I think, Bond, this was like a game plan for the coaches. It's funny because Miami gave up a season high points in the paint tonight. Atlanta is statistically one of the worst teams at getting into the paint. They're one of the lowest kind of paint scoring teams in the league, which makes sense. Like, I think Trae wants to kind of play on the perimeter, get like dudes in a drop, and then kind of get.
Trae has like one of the highest like floater percentages in the league too.
Yeah,
so it's
but
weird.
That's just Trae. It's like all the other guys. Yeah. He's spraying out and like stuff like that. So, tonight I thought, okay, it's going to be a lot of if Miami like if this breaks, it's going to be they're going to get offensive rebounded to death, and I just didn't think it'd be like Trae beating Bam on the perimeter. And I did think that tonight Bam was playing a little bit up high, which I think was the game plan. They're like, okay, Bam, play up high. Don't let him, like, we're going to send help, which they did at times. But, as we talked about, like kind of with the early traps and stuff, I thought that they were just doing it too early. And then they kind of went away from it. And they really like stopped trapping him. Which I thought was interesting. But yeah, I'm with you on the Bam thing. But I thought tonight specifically, it was probably like that came from the coaching staff. It's like play high, let them do what they're not good at, and we'll be able to contain. Which they were wrong. I mean, Atlanta scored a fuck ton of points, and so I mean they lost that bet. But I'd venture to say that was a coaching decision.
I hope so.
In general, kind of Tiff. Let's close out the show. Let's close out the show talking about Yurt, a guy who didn't play because people wanted him to play.
That's an abrupt switch. That's I thought you were maybe going to touch on Tyler. Jim, we go to.
Is there something to talk about? I got to be honest. Is there something to talk about Tyler? I feel like this is just.
Oh no!
This is a run-of-the-mill Tyler Herro game. Plays like ass. Hits a couple threes at the end, and everyone's like, Eric Reed's like, Boy Wonder always finds it when it counts. And
I'm just saying,
it's not the problems, though.
Right?
Like,
I'm just saying, Max was 3 for 4. Probably could have got a few more shots in there.
Well, now he was competing with Duncan tonight because I thought they both played well. They were both shooting the ball. I think Duncan closed, right?
He wasn't competing with anybody. He wasn't competing with anybody. It's like if you're 1 for 8. Maybe let Max get a shot.
Herro, he's always going to close because they like the ball handling.
No, we're not talking about closing. We're just saying in general, like, if you're stinking it up, you can let other people get shots. It's okay.
Oh, yeah. I don't. How many field goals did Tyler take today? He was, 5 for 14.
Yeah.
5 for 14.
And and that was, remember, the barrage came on at the end.
Yeah.
Right. And he couldn't shake Trae loose.
Yeah.
Like Trae
played hard. I don't want to give him.
He did. I've never seen that.
I've never seen it either. We're thinking of the same clip, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a few clips.
There's a clip floating around on Twitter, and this guy is fucking. He's like Tony Allen, like fucking screen navigating.
Yeah.
Like, who are you, dude?
Okay, and so if Trae Young can commit to playing hard, and jostling him that way, then like these other lengthier guys, like I don't know. I want something else from his game too, but I'm not all the way sure.
Funny. It was funny, but I shout out to Trae.
Go ahead, Yurt.
Shout out, but Yurt.
No, I mean, because like I don't. Is there somebody else I missed? Like I feel like we hit. I feel like we hit. Yeah, and just real quick, and I just a couple minutes on this because I think we all have a couple things to say here. I think a lot of people were really. I shared in the chat. Somebody tweeted, "It's like I'm done with this team after they didn't start Yurt," which is like,
I had to relax.
Tiff and I were laughing because it's like, why was this the last straw? Like,
right, this was the last straw.
Like,
this was it.
Friday should have been over. If you had said that on Friday, I would have been like, I get it, bro. I
exactly.
I didn't want to come back to Twitter either. I'm not gonna lie. But it was So he didn't start. He didn't play today. He was back after his All-Star G League showing, and fans are excited because they haven't seen him all year, and I think they just want anything that's not what they have. So they were mad. I think so. I'm not. Everybody knows that I'm not a fan of playing two bigs, especially one that doesn't shoot the ball well. I also think like they stink, and it's like just like give it a look. You know what I mean? Like play Yurt like they do Jokic. Play him really high. Let Bam fucking fly on the back line for help, and just like see how it goes. You know, on offense, they're not going to score. I don't even think that'll work. But whatever. Maybe you can find something defensively that is interesting, and you have something to give a team a different look. And I don't like it. If I were the coach, thank God I'm not. I probably wouldn't do it. I don't think it's really worth the look. But I'm not gonna sit here and say that's stupid. Don't even try it. Even if I think it's a little stupid, don't even try it. I think we're past the point that they're stupid ideas. If Chris Quinn is like, hey, I think I can shoot 36%. Spo might say, suit up, bro, because they don't have options. So that's kind of where I am with the Yurt thing. And I think fans just want to see something that's not the shit that they have.
Right. That's it. They want something different, and I don't blame them. Come on. How many times we got to watch this movie to know the ending? Like,
it could be worse though.
It could. No,
it could always be worse.
It could always.
But I mean, I already knew he wasn't playing. I think I told Bon, I was like, I don't see him playing. He ain't playing. No. And sadly, he didn't play. But did I want to see it? Yes. Why not? Like, what are we doing? Like, first of all, I knew he wasn't playing because like Hamish was already out the rotation.
Man, I miss him.
Oh, I do miss Hamish.
Who was giving you a lot?
Hamish was giving,
Yeah, he was giving you a lot on the defensive end. So if he wasn't playing, I knew Yurt wasn't playing. Like,
I think Yurt will probably play when somebody misses a game and he'll play back up 5 minutes.
Yeah, but when is that happening?
I don't know.
Let me not say that.
Zeller might slip on a banana peel knowing how this seaon goes.
Yeah, let me not say that.
I think so maybe the offense sucks with it. And as you said, maybe there's something that you kind of find remotely interesting defensively to make it worth maybe throwing out there a little bit. I look at Yurt kind of as like a little bit or what Yurt can give you, I think, is a little bit analogous to the athleticism conversation we had in the group chat the other day. And not that Yurt is athletic, but what athleticism does and how that makes things easier. We talk about like them as a rebounding team. They are whatever they are. The NBA Countdown had them dead last. You talking about rebounding percentage? They're somewhere in fifth. Pick the stat you want to.
So they're fifth defensive rebounding. They're like
defensive, correct.
They're like 15th in like normal, like
total
rebound percentage. Yeah, they're like dead last in offensive rebounding.
Right. And so things like that, right? Like Yurt is a walking double-double. I think he gives you some offensive rebounding. I think he helps your defensive rebounding. And while they are a good rebounding team, it's because they know that they have to do it by committee. They know that they have to do it collectively. I think if you have individuals who are better able to snag rebounds, you are better able to get out and break. You don't have 3-4 people under the basket. And so now we can get out. Now we can look up. Now we maybe can get some easier points. I don't know that Yurt is the fix. I don't know that he's the antidote. He probably isn't. And if they are serious about trying to make this last push, and I don't know where they are in the standings, if they're serious about what they want to do or look like playoff wise, then cool, don't play him or whatever. But the idea that there's just like no use for him or he can't give you anything, I think I disagree with. Maybe he doesn't give you anything this season because they have already brought in Love, they brought in Zeller. They still, have to figure out how they can get the most out of those two. They probably don't have time to try to reintegrate someone like a him. But if you are someone who feels like this team is pretty bottomed out and that they're probably a first round out or maybe don't make the play or whatever it is. If you think that they're not going anywhere, I can understand the idea of, well, shit, let's just play with some toys. No, like let's just see what we have here. But if they are serious and want to make this last push, then I understand it. Bring him back next season. I don't know. Like I think there's space for him
free
next.
Agent, right?
Is he?
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
I imagine they get him on the cheap. I just don't really see how he'd be like a desired commodity. I gotta be honest. I mean, he'd probably be more.
I disagree.
I think he'd probably. You think somebody would like want him?
I think teams are going back to weaponizing size, and not that small ball is dead, but like there is a finite amount of talent and people that can really weaponize like a small ball philosophy. And I think you start to see teams kind of course you want length at your
you think like a team though? No, I agree with you, but like he's coming off an injury and like he hasn't played and like
all they gotta do is offer him $1 more.
But my like they could give him like I don't think that they'll be outbid for him. I think if he leaves, it's because he's like I think he's not going to get enough money that like it's going to be out of Miami's range. And I don't see them bringing. I think Zeller is a guy that is just totally played himself out of Miami's price range. I think somebody will snag him for like $3 or $4 million, and then
also last thing with him, they let PJ go. Right, they came into the season with Bam, Yurt, and Dedmon. There's no way that.
And Caleb.
They didn't have Caleb's not a big. I'm not doing that. I know. But there's no way I don't think that they didn't envision him having some type of contributing role.
They tried. I mean, so I think that Ethan might be able to talk to us about this on Hangover Time, but it would appear to me that they thought he would be like the backup center and Dedmon was the third guy who they basically signed as a salary. Yurt gets hurt. They tried him with Bam in preseason. It did not look great. The numbers were bad, and it just didn't. It just felt a little gummy. But they tried it. They did try it. But
the injury didn't help. I said I don't know that I think they tried hard enough, but also the injury didn't help.
I don't think they tried hard enough, but I think they tried it and it didn't look good, and they're like, we'll revisit this later. Sure. We'll shelve this. I mean, because Spoke tried it late last year too, and it was mixed results, and they tried it again.
But Bam is different. But Bam this year is different.
Bam that's why you shelve it and you kind of wait. Does Bam make a leap on offense and we can try it again? But and last thing on this is that like I thought tonight was a good example of like Bam plays well when guards are active and moving. And like there were a couple plays. So like Duncan does the thing that I like where he'll set a screen in the middle of the floor for Bam to come off of. And they used to do that a lot. And like Bam would just kind of like get the ball on the wing and then like do a handoff. Now he was like going. I mean, he had one where he traveled. He had another one on that jump shot. He had another play where he scores off of that, where Duncan sets a pick kind of like in the middle of the floor. Bam comes off of it, gets the ball, and he has space and he's like one dribble away from the basket. And they have to switch that because like they're just not going to get there in time. And it's like kind of actions like that where you're like, okay, well, like Duncan's like really active like that, because Max is like doing other things on offense. And Max is also a bigger guy. So that switch is like really less favorable. Like, Tyler's not good at it. And Duncan's like, for all that he is, he's like a very physical kind of guy. And, as funny as it is to say that about like this like kind of awkward looking dude, he does have physical screens. So I like that stuff with Bam more so than the big screens. And like, I like some of the high-low stuff that he does with Love and like he did with Olynyk, but I love the stuff that he does with guards. So I think I agree with you. I think a diet of both is important. And I think they will try to find ways to incorporate either Zeller or Yurt or whatever, depending on kind of the matchups that they'll face.
I think also just, I feel like, before we get out of here, like at some point they got to solidify a rotation.
Don't ask them questions they don't know yet.
Exactly.
Well, like there's like a legitimate question of like, are we gonna get a point guard back, and like where do we play him?
Right.
I think they have questions about I think I don't think Oladipo is ever out of the rotation, but I think Duncan raises an interesting conversation if like he's going to be like a good offensive player again. Now you have to ask yourself some questions about their rotation.
Yeah.
So I don't think they have answers yet because, of course, nothing this season makes sense.
Right.
So I agree with you though.
Stay tuned next week on Dragon Ball Z.
Right.
Literally. I'll say one thing. Caleb looks good again.
Oh, Caleb was great.
Well, I wonder why.
Back to the bench. Woo.
Just keep it there. He
Yep.
played really well today, and I was like, Spo, don't you dare, because he did well with the starting lineup, right? He played well with Gabe and Jimmy, like when he in that there was like a stretch, and I was like, don't you dare, Spo. Just leave it.
Let that piece of nature be restored. Let that man.
It looks really good when he could just come in and just give you that boust of energy. He could just come in, run the floor, and just be Caleb.
Shout out to him. Shout out to him. Like it is the idea of like do what's best for the team is very easy to spout off, and that is what people should do. But it is not always the easiest thing to do. Like do what's starting, do what's playing fine or whatever, and to be put back in a more natural role. And I'm sure it hurt. I'm sure it hurt his ego or whatever it was. But like put it to the side. Just come out and hoop and play and give the team what they need from you. And props to him for being a professional.
Shout out to Caleb for being a professional. We love it. And by the way, literally last thing, Jimmy's been a gamer since All-Star break. Man went to Argentina, been a gamer. This is
I got some.
He balls. He comes and he my man hoops. You know what I mean? That's there's not much more to say. I mean, we saw the game face.
I'm weak. Where is this picture from?
That was I think that was the last Atlanta game. Look how angry he looks.
I know.
I said this pregame. This is brass every time draft beat's mentioned. Whenever Moose starts talking about the draft, that's fucking brass's face. Or when the Heat lose and he has to do hangover time.
Or when the Knicks win.
Or when the Knicks win.
Or the Knicks win. Or when Kenny's late to hangover time. Kenny, where the fuck is Tiff? Where the fuck is Kenny?
Wait. I can't wait till we find a reason to throw Tyke in the back of this picture, just because.
You know, if it wouldn't be problematic, I would love a cutout of that and just brass yelling at everybody. But I feel like that's venturing into things we shouldn't.
Yeah.
You doing white face?
Right? No, we're not doing white face. He's doing Jimmy face.
It was the funny facial expression. But I was like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't. Black and Time. Listen, Black and Time was bad enough. People are like, you aired that? Like my friends that watched it, and I was like, yeah.
I still don't think I've seen the last one. I'm still stuck on the Kevin Durant one.
Wait till you see it.
I haven't seen the last one.
My friend called me.
All of the right shows for Hot not to be on. I love that for me.
My friend called me on vacation. He went home to Jamaica to visit some family. He called me and he was like, I just saw the clip you put up. He's like, you aired that? And I go, I didn't air anything. I go, my producer and my post-game show host did. And he goes, your company's over. he goes,
canceled.
He goes, they cancel people for less.
I haven't seen it. Shit.
Wait till you see it.
Fucking crazy.
Take us out, G.
Take us out. We love you, chat. We will see you tomorrow. Alex Solana rejoining the podcast.
Whoa.
Clamada,
that's you.
Yeah, we'll see what funny drink he brings, and then of course basket for babies. Hit him one time. Moose has to be on that show because literally everybody tweeted we need Moose to do basket for babies. But it's a great cause, and it's run by Dos Minutos as an organization. You may know him on Twitter. It's for healthy mothers, healthy babies, for a lot, about childbirth and complications during birth, which disproportionately happens to women of color. So, please remember to, if you have, to donate. And even if you donate a little bit, you'll be entered to win tickets for Heat, Grizzlies, TBD on if Ja plays, whatever the hell's going on with him. But you can boo Jaren Jackson Jr. And if that's not a sell, I don't know what is. So remember, our charity stream is on Wednesday. Dose is coming through. We're going to have a great time. God, Lord knows what nut milk he's gonna bring this time. But we love you guys and we appreciate all the support. So see you tomorrow and then again on Wednesday for Kev.
Hashtag nut milk.
No.